The morning of Catherine's wedding, something unexpected was waiting in the back pew. Someone had made a choice. Someone had planned this moment for weeks, maybe even months. They thought no one would notice. They thought they could walk into that church undetected and shift the entire energy of the day. But what Catherine's sister didn't realize was that her plan, the one she'd carefully constructed to steal attention, to diminish, to hurt, would come back to haunt her in ways she never anticipated. By the end of that day, everything would change. Not the way she expected. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. What was Catherine's sister planning? Why would she wear white to her own sister's wedding? Was it jealousy? Revenge? A carefully calculated move to overshadow the bride on her most important day? And most importantly, what happened next? How did a moment meant to cause chaos become the exact turning point that exposed the truth everyone had been too afraid to speak aloud? Catherine stood at the altar that morning, wearing her grandmother's vintage lace gown, her hands trembling. Not from nerves about the man waiting at the end of the aisle, but from knowledge. She knew her sister was coming. She knew what was about to happen. Catherine and Margaret grew up in a small town just outside Boston. Their parents ran a bed and breakfast on the edge of a lake, and the sisters spent their childhood exploring those waters, making promises to each other under the stars about the futures they would build. But somewhere between childhood and adulthood, Margaret got lost. Catherine was the organized one, the planner, the achiever. She had a career in marketing, a stable relationship, and a 5-year plan. Margaret had none of these things. She bounced from job to job, relationship to relationship, and when Catherine announced her engagement to James, a man Margaret had briefly dated 2 years prior, something shifted in their bond. Margaret didn't just feel hurt, she felt erased. The engagement was announced on Margaret's 29th birthday. Catherine's fiancé showed up at the dinner with a ring that caught the light exactly right. And as their mother gasped with delight, Margaret excused herself to the bathroom. No one noticed her leaving. No one saw her crying in the stall. Catherine assumed Margaret was happy. That's what sisters did. They supported each other, celebrated, moved forward. But Margaret had been planning something different. 6 weeks before the wedding, Margaret called Catherine with an offer to help with dress fittings. Catherine was relieved. She wanted Margaret involved. They went to the boutique downtown, the one with the soft lighting and the champagne that tasted like second chances. Catherine tried on dress after dress, each one making her feel more like herself. But when she finally found the one, a simple, elegant gown with intricate beading along the bodice, Margaret's comment cut deeper than any blade. She said, "It's nice. You're going to look so beautiful. James is lucky." And then she paused. But you know, some brides choose to wear white at their receptions too. Different dresses, different moments, different looks. It's becoming very popular. Catherine felt something shift in that moment. She didn't say anything, but she knew. The conversation played on repeat in her mind for weeks. Margaret was going to wear white. She was actually going to do it. The realization didn't anger Catherine at first. Confused her. It hurt her. She wondered why her sister would want to create that kind of pain between them. She thought about confronting her. She thought about asking their mother. Instead, she made a decision that would change everything. As the wedding day approached, Catherine made phone calls. She texted in group chats. She didn't directly warn Margaret to stay away from white. That would have been too obvious, too confrontational. Instead, she reached out to everyone else. She told her bridesmaids about her vision. She shared details about the theme, the color palette, the intimate nature of the celebration. She made sure they understood that this was about family, about respect, about creating a moment that would be remembered not for drama but for love. And then she waited. She didn't tell James. She didn't tell her parents. She carried this secret knowledge with her, and it affected everything. She smiled during the rehearsal, but her smile had a weight to it. She hugged her sister during the rehearsal dinner, and Margaret hugged her back. But there was something unspoken between them. A tension, a knowing, a question hanging in the air. Would Margaret really do it? Would she actually walk into that church wearing white? The night before the wedding, Catherine couldn't sleep. She lay in her childhood bedroom at her parents' house, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the ways this could unfold. She thought about her sister, about the years they'd spent together, about the distance that had grown between them. She thought about their mother, who adored them both and couldn't bear to see them at odds. She thought about what would happen if Margaret actually showed up in white. Would guests notice? Would they whisper? Would they judge her sister the way Margaret had been judged her entire life for not having her life together? Catherine cried that night, not from fear or anger, but from grief. She was grieving a relationship that had already changed. Sunday morning arrived wrapped in winter sunlight. Catherine stood in her room with her bridesmaids, adjusting her veil, trying to steady her breathing. And then came the moment. Someone, her mother, knocked on the door and said quietly, "Your sister is here. She looks beautiful." Catherine's heart raced. She stepped out into the hallway, and there was Margaret. She was wearing white. Not the white of a bride, but something equally shocking. A gleaming, attention-grabbing white satin gown that seemed to glow under the church lights. Catherine's stomach dropped. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Then she did something no one expected. She looked at her sister and laughed. Not a mocking laugh, but a real one. "You actually did it," she said. And Margaret's face crumbled. Behind her eyes, Catherine could see the shame, the desperation, the years of feeling left behind.
"I'm sorry.
I don't know why I did this. I don't know what I was thinking." And in that moment, Catherine understood. Margaret wasn't trying to ruin the wedding. Margaret was crying out. She was saying, in the only language she knew, "I feel invisible. I feel like I'm not enough. I feel like you left me behind." Catherine grabbed her sister's hand. "Come with me," she said. They went into the church office and talked for 30 minutes before the ceremony began. Catherine told Margaret she had known about the dress. She had known for weeks. But instead of forbidding her, instead of fighting her, she wanted Margaret to understand what that choice meant. She wanted Margaret to see herself the way Catherine saw her. Not as competition, not as someone to be diminished, but as her sister. Someone worth fighting for. Margaret never made it down the aisle in that white gown. 20 minutes before Catherine was supposed to walk down the aisle, Margaret left the church. Not in anger, but in clarity. She went home, changed into a soft blue dress, and returned just as the ceremony was beginning. She sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face, and when Catherine reached the altar, she turned back and looked at her sister. Their eyes met, and something ancient shifted between them. A wall came down. After the ceremony, Catherine did something no bride was supposed to do. She spent 20 minutes with Margaret before greeting guests. They sat in a quiet room, and Catherine told her sister the truth. She said, "I've been so focused on getting ahead that I forgot about getting closer. I thought if I just ignored your pain, it would go away. But it didn't. It just grew between us. I'm sorry for that." Margaret said, "I was jealous of you. I am jealous of you sometimes. But watching you walk down that aisle today, all I could think was how proud I am of you, and how much I've missed my sister." They held each other and cried. By the reception, Catherine and Margaret were dancing together, and when the DJ called for a special moment between the bride and her family, Catherine pulled Margaret onto the dance floor and said to the crowd, "I want to introduce you to my sister, my real sister, not the one I pretend to have when things are hard. The real one, the one who wore white to my wedding because she was scared, and that took courage. But showing up here today, being honest, being vulnerable, that takes even more." The crowd applauded. Margaret buried her face in her sister's shoulder, and they swayed to the music together. 2 years after the wedding, Margaret started a business consulting firm. Catherine helped her with marketing. Margaret helped Catherine navigate a difficult pregnancy. They spoke every single day. Their parents watched their daughters rediscover each other. And one afternoon, their mother said to Catherine, "I thought you were ruined forever. I didn't know how to fix what was broken between you two." Catherine replied, "It wasn't broken because of me or Margaret. It was broken because we didn't know how to be honest with each other. We were so afraid of being hurt that we couldn't be vulnerable." The wedding that was supposed to be about competition became a story about reconciliation. The dress that was meant to create chaos became a symbol of courage, Margaret's courage to finally admit she was struggling, and Catherine's courage to love her sister anyway. So here's what I want to ask you, watching from wherever you are. Have you ever felt like Margaret? Have you ever been so afraid of being left behind, so desperate to matter, that you considered doing something you knew was wrong? How does Margaret's story make you feel about your own relationships with the people closest to you? If you discovered someone you loved had been planning to hurt you, would you respond with anger like most people would? Or would you, like Catherine, choose to ask why? What would you have done if you were Catherine? Would you have confronted Margaret before the wedding? Or would you have let the scene unfold, hoping that sometimes pain teaches us more than comfort ever could? Think about the last time you felt invisible to someone you loved. What did you do? Did you lash out? Did you retreat? Did you find courage to be honest? Because that's what this story is really about. It's not about a dress. It's not about a wedding. It's about two sisters who loved each other but forgot how to say it. And when the moment came, they chose to rewrite the story. Now, what about you? Are there relationships in your life that need rewriting? Is there someone you've been holding distance from because you're afraid, because you're hurt, because you don't know how to be honest? This is your moment. Don't wait for a wedding dress to remind you what matters. And if you think this story was powerful, wait until you hear what happened next. Margaret's business began to boom, but unexpected challenges tested everything she and Catherine had rebuilt. Subscribe now so you never miss the next chapter. The stories that change us are waiting for you. Thank you for watching till the very end.